Well, first of all, did you lose your Hawaiian shirt at the dry cleaner? Because we had talked about this.
I knew I forgot something, but you look great, buddy.
Oh,
thanks. I
thanks.
think the Hawaiian shirt at the black tie affair is always a safe move. So
it's
if you're pulling
creative
it off,
black tie is what they call it.
I'm Alex Magliozzi. I'm Tom's son. This is my cousin Drew, Ray's son. We're very happy to be here. My dad, Tom, was Click of Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers.
No. My dad was Click.
I don't think
Remember, because your dad, all he did was laugh.
Okay.
But my dad answered all the questions.
Yeah, but my dad was older, so he was Click. There's nothing wrong with being Clack, and I think we should drop it and just kind of move on.
Differ,
okay? We don't need to air our family's dirty laundry in front of all these important people.
We'll table it till the next family holiday dinner.
If
How
you
about
say
that?
so. Okay.
Well, first and foremost, after all the shenanigans, I would like to accept this honor
Thank you,
with both gratitude and incredulity that one, these guys who we never thought of as celebrities would be honored in this way, and two, the fact that we would ever find ourselves on this stage. Thank you so much. It's an incredible honor. And by the way, you have a great speechwriter, because I was going to say much of that. So we'll have to wing it.
The last time any members of our family were invited to speak publicly was about 20 years ago, and there's good reason for that. They gave the commencement address at MIT. They were told not to speak for more than 15 minutes, and about an hour and change later, they were finally kind of yanked off the stage. So.
Don't worry, we're only going to talk for about half of that, so everyone settle in.
Yeah. For those of you who have listened to the show, we were mentioned pretty frequently because we had a habit of ruining our dad's beloved cars. My dad had a '63 Dodge Dart convertible that I managed to ruin, and Drew had his own experience with the Colt Vista.
Although I begged for a convertible on my 17th birthday, I was the lucky recipient of a 1987 Dodge Colt Vista, a beautiful vehicle which my father rescued from the jaws of the crusher when one of the customers at the shop tried to get rid of it. And he would take cars on, like some people would rescue like stray animals. Oh, it was a beauty, he would tell us. And he would take it in and he would rebuild the engine and usually offload it to a family member. Sometimes we would have gratitude. Unfortunately, about a year and a half later, he neglected to teach me anything about auto repair, unfortunately, because I ended up driving it with the oil light on. How was I supposed to know that was something that told you to stop? Maybe the plumes of smoke coming out of the tailpipe should have tipped me off, but it only led to the next one, which incidentally was a Honda Odyssey.
I don't think we're here just to talk about the cars of theirs that we've destroyed. We also want to talk about the way that they helped people fix their cars, or at least pretended to help them while they were laughing hysterically every Saturday morning.
Yes, and for those of you, well, you just heard the history of their, I guess, rise to fame, which is still astounding to each of us. I will add a little bit more color. They grew up in East Cambridge, which, our fair city, of course, the Italian Quarter, where very few people went off to higher education, much less places like MIT, and it was really our grandmother who was the driving force behind their education. But when they got there, they took a decidedly different path. While most of their classmates went off to business, they fled from it. Like you said, my father to the fields of Vermont, and my uncle to be a bum on the streets of Cambridge, living on $5 a day at the coffee shop. Unfortunately, my dad had hay fever, and my uncle had alimony, and so they decided to start the business. And I'm stunned you guys know about Hackers Haven, because that's one we really buried as a family lore. A terrible business idea, as you can imagine. And it's funny that in the business plan, they only thought the problem would be wheelbarrowing the money to the bank.
Right.
Lo and behold, that was a complete failure. And by the way, just a brief aside, the story is much more interesting if only we had time. It includes attack dogs,
unscrupulous business
partners, and the real menace in the story was the IRS. But that's a story for another day. Nonetheless, they needed to get gainful employment relatively quickly. All it took was 10 years.
Yeah. So one day my dad saw an ad in the paper, as you saw in the video, responded to it. They were looking for auto mechanics to come and answer questions. As luck would have it, he was the only one who showed up, so there was no competition to make him look bad. He asked if he could come back the next week and bring his brother, and they said yes. So for the first 10 years, it was sort of a side gig of theirs. They had day jobs.
It's worth noting, but just a brief aside.
Thank you.
They did come back the next week. My father and Tommy's dog, of course, they had in the studio, like real professionals. And there was a note on the door from the station manager who had hired them. He had been fired in the week between. We're not sure if there's any causation, but it said something to the effect of, good luck, watch your language, and have fun. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. So keep going.
But even though it was a side gig for a year, they did the show for over 30 years. It became a real source of joy and laughter for a lot of people, and a lot of digs at the big 3 automakers, which we apologize for all of you.
Yeah, actually, one that comes to mind is a moment where a certain 4-cylinder minivan they accused of needing to seat 7 so that 6 people could get out and push when it was on a steep hill. Don't worry, they retracted it and the libel lawsuit was dismissed. It's fine.
But in all seriousness, we do think that the show did bring a lot of joy to a lot of people. I think what made it special is that it wasn't really a show about cars. It was a show about people and relationships, and they used cars as a way to sort of get people to talk about their innermost feelings. There's a real intersection between cars and life in this country, and they found a way to sort of bring real humor to it. So even though, on the surface they were talking about, here's how to get your mechanic to not rob you blind so he can make his boat payment this month, they were really talking about, how to get along as husband and wife. And it was a really positive force. So I think that's rare today, to bring that kind of joy and to do it, to have humor without, malice and without making fun of people, except for that minivan crack. And we've heard from a lot of their fans, and we hope some of them are out here, that they really brought a lot of joy to people. So thank you for honoring them tonight. And I also want to say that between us, Drew and I have 3 sons, and we'd like to thank the Kiefer family for the important work they're doing to keep everybody safe out there.
Yeah.
So thank you.